people can pick it. Okay, so why don't you explain what's going on?
So we're in escrow, and it's been a little bit of a rough escrow, especially with this particular listing agent.
Okay,
She's kind of fought us on inspectors who we can and cannot let in. So we got past that. Same with appraiser, got past that. We need a slight extension of 8 days due to a cash deposit issue that we're trying to rectify. And at this point, she just kind of said that, you know, if the sellers are going to stay in, then the sellers are going to want you to move to a new lender, and they're going to want you to reduce their seller credit and do some other things. And of course, nothing's in writing, so I'm not issuing anything back in writing, but I'm just like, you know, I wanted to remind her that kind of what I've heard from you and Randy a lot, right? Is that we have to take all emotion out of it. We are not the clients.
Right.
We are merely the, honestly, like I told her, I said, we are really paper pushers, that we are helping with this, but it's not our emotion that can get to this.
right, right. Yeah.
So I just, my clients do not want to move to another lender. They do not want to start the process over.
Yeah. Well, certainly, you know, when any agents, either our agent or another agent kind of says we, uses the we word, it sends up hairs on my back, because it's not we, it's always the client's decision. We aren't part of it, really. We're communicators. I think we're more than paper pushers, Trudy. I know you know that, but we are communicators, and I'll explain one today that's it's still being resolved. But in your case, I'd say if you need an extension, you know, for something, do put it in writing,
Right.
and put it in the form of either using the extension form, extension of time form, or the amendment form.
Okay.
Because both of those allow for the sellers to respond, and they require a response within 3 days, or they go away, you know, they terminate. And put it in that form because if the seller doesn't respond, you aren't stuck with the seller potentially canceling you out.
So Gary, we had sent an extension over, and I don't know that we got it back. I'll have to check with Katie.
Okay.
But we had sent one requesting an extension a week and a half ago to this coming the 31st, I believe, or the 1st.
Right.
One of the two.
Okay.
And she mentioned kind of briefly in her irate phone call yesterday, what, you know, my clients didn't even sign that.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for us if her clients haven't signed that?
Well, the fact is that,
I'm sorry, not us. What does that mean for my clients?
yes, thank you, not us. You're right. Good. Caught yourself. So if a contingency passes its deadline, I often hear an agent will call me and say, we're out of the contract. Well, first of all, they use the we word, and then they made a legal decision as to whether they're in contract or not, because that's a matter of law. It's not a matter that we can determine. You know, the attorney has to decide that. So that's bad language, two ways. But anyway, in terms of what you're saying is, if the contingency passes its deadline, which yours has, and you've made a request for an extension, which was ignored, and they don't give you a notice to perform under that contingency, it automatically extends. So it's extended just by nature of the writings, the writing in the RPA. So the contingency extends until they give you a notice to perform. And then they have to give you a 2-day notice to perform. So then you have something to deal with, you know, then you would have to deal with it. But you've already gotten, it sounds like, a week's worth of extension without even, you know, without them signing the extension form. So okay, you should be in pretty good shape, it sounds like.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So they can't do anything to your contract without giving you first a notice to perform.
Perfect. You know, the one thing I will say, Gary, is that just a reminder to, you know, all the agents on and everybody, you know, that this particular listing agent has been really bullyish the entire time and just really like questioning all the time. She's just not a nice person. And I got to tell you, no matter what the emotions are, I think as agents, we just have to remember, like, we are there. We as agents are there for our clients to perform best for our clients, but the decision is ultimately the client's decision, regardless of emotion. And just remember to be nice. Just being nice can go so far.
Yep. Yeah, and listen, you know, I mean, you may listen to the rant, as you say, on the other end of the line, and just kind of listen and say, okay, I hear you, and then, you know, hang up. But you know, you know, just some people just express themselves differently, and we need to know that. It's a good follow on. I was going to do this a little later in this training, but I'll do it now because it kind of dovetails with what you're talking about. That is, one of our agents is representing a buyer on a property, it's a $1.8 million property here in Sonoma. And they were getting, it was 2 days prior to close. It actually did close on Thursday, yesterday, or day before, maybe Wednesday. But it's 2 days before that, Monday, I think they got a note from the listing agent that said, our agent had asked about, we're all set to close, and we're wondering how we're going to get keys to the property. And the listing agent wrote back and he says, oh, well, we'll turn over the keys after the August 7th, with the sellers staying till August 7th per our agreement. And our agent had no agreement in the file. And she called Katie up, our TC, and said, Katie, do you have a SIP, a seller in possession form in the file? Katie said, no, I don't have one. So our agent calls the listing agent back and says, hey, you know, we don't have any SIP. We aren't aware of any seller staying on. Our buyer, you know, our client is planning to move on the 3rd. So we, you know, we don't have a form. If you have a form, you know, let us know about it. Well, the listing agent went back, oh, I'm sure I have the form. I'll send it over to you. It's signed by everybody. Well, what the listing agent had done was discuss this with their seller, said to their seller, well, we'll get that form signed as part of the counter offer. And they failed to attach it, and they failed to get it signed by either party. They just kind of blew it. So now they called back and said, oh, we blew it, but they have to stay because they can't move. They're moving out of state, and they got everybody set to move on the 7th. So sorry about that. We'll send it over now. Well, I said, you know, so at this point, the agent calls me and said, whoa, what's up here? And I said, well, that agent made a pretty bad mistake there. And they better take, you know, they need to take responsibility for it. And you know, they need to prepare the paperwork that works for our client. You can discuss with our client whether they would allow the seller to stay on, but there's no, you know, obligation for them to do that. So, and there's going to be cost involved. You know, they just can't stay for 7 days without any compensation at this point. So at this point, the listing agent writes and they say, okay, well, you know, we can offer $1,000 because, you know, that seems like a reasonable amount for 10 days of seller in possession. And then, you know, we asked the title company, well, what's the buyer's PITI? Well, the PITI was it was $5,000 a day, or not 5,000, $500 a day. So, so this is like, going to cost them $5,000 for them to stay $10 just in their PITI. So, and plus, they got to change their mover, the inconvenience and all this sort of stuff. So the buyer said, well, we can cooperate with that, but we really need, they need to cover the PITI plus something else, So the number got agreed upon at $7,500. Now you would think that the listing agent, having made this mistake, it's a $45,000 gross commission. The listing agent happens to be the broker of the firm, so they can, they can keep 100% of the commission. You'd think they'd take responsibility and, pay this on behalf of the seller. Well, they don't. They hit the seller up for $2,000, and they're paying, $2,500, and they're paying $5,000, and it's just bad for them. It's just, it was sloppy to begin with. They still, now the deal closed Wednesday. They got the checks together, and they gave us a dense one-page hold harmless agreement to hold them harmless from any bad stuff that comes out of this, the seller carrying over. Well, I looked at it and I said, well, you give it to the buyer with the advice that they have a legal counsel look at it. But in my opinion, it's garbage, and I would ignore it. So our agent gave it to the client, and the client said, we can agree to sign that. So client's decision, we told them what we thought. We told them they should get legal counsel to look at it, but they signed it. And we got $7,500, but then not we picked up the $7,500 for our client in exchange for the release. And I said to our agent, then I said, well, is there an agreement in place for the seller to occupy the place? And they said, well, no, they never did send us the SIP. And I said, okay, well, you can't use the SIP now. The SIP means the seller's in possession. Well, the seller's not the seller anymore. There's a new buyer. So they aren't even entitled. So you can't use the SIP. You need a lease. Otherwise, the seller's just staying there willy-nilly without any legal agreement. So that just happened this morning, that there was, we learned there's no written agreement for the seller to occupy the place. And and our agent says, well, that's up to the listing agent to provide that. And I said, yes, that would be. So I think, hopefully they'll create a lease agreement, and that'll be signed by everybody. The money's been exchanged, and, but I'm bringing it up mainly because the agent made a mistake. And sometimes we do make mistakes. Okay. And if we make mistakes, we have to take responsibility for the mistakes. So if you find you've made a mistake, check with Randy, check with me, and we'll figure out how to kind of best remedy the mistake. But this broker, it was very disappointing professionally to see how this broker handled that situation. Okay. Any questions on that? Tale of woe. Okay. Let me cover a few other things. Heather, good morning. Do you have some tech issues for us this morning?
Yeah, I do. I'm going to take a look at the greenhouse marketing things that are available. So there's a few changes and things.
Good. Well, that's a good segue, because I was going to cover some marketing things. Okay. So marketing materials. Our staff, we have three very good marketing people working for our brokerage. Haley is the director of marketing. Kylie is stationed here in Sonoma. and is an expert marketing assistant. And Keely also does some marketing work, I believe, up in Santa Rosa, correct, Heather? She helps you with marketing materials there, yeah. So anyway, we can go as agents, we can go to our good marketing staff and have them help us create marketing pieces. And a couple that have come up recently are list of sold properties, which are very useful. The public likes to know that, you know, what's sold recently. And it's a good handout for people on floor. It's a good mailer if you're doing mailings. We encourage you to do such marketing. Lists of recently sold properties. We had some confusion, but it's cleared up now. We can use any sold property, even though it wasn't through our brokerage, and listed on a just sold card, or not a just sold card, but on a recent sales card. We cannot use the photos of that listing, any photo of that listing, without the express permission, written permission of the listing agent. But we can list the address and the bedrooms and baths, other square footage, price, you know, other details that are public knowledge. Now, the Rule 13.4 of the MLS, the Beirut Rules and Regulations, reads as follows. Use of comparable MLS data in advertising is prohibited except for the use in a member's marketing materials that are designed to promote the member's services as a real estate agent. Generally, comparable MLS data obtained from Beirut and used in such marketing materials shall contain the following disclaimer. So this is what goes on those materials. This information is based on sales reported in Bay Area Real Estate Information Services, Inc., Beirut, and is not verified and is subject to change. Listings represented may not have been listed or sold by, and then you put the agent, your name, and in that spot, Sally Seller, or Sally Agent. So listings represented may not have been listed or sold by Sally Agent. So that disclaimer needs to go into any of these marketing materials, which we encourage you to use and create, if we're representing sales by other firms. So now sales by our own brokerage, we can use the photos without the listing agent's permission. We should still use that disclaimer. We don't want to mislead the public that I sold a property when it was actually Heather who sold the property. So I could put recent sales by our brokerage or recent sales in the area if Heather sold a property nearby, and I could use the photo and I could put the address and the other good stuff. But I do need to have that disclaimer at the bottom that that the listings represented may not have been listed or sold by me. Okay. Any questions on that? The second thing about marketing materials is no matter what you create as a marketing piece, we like it to conform to Better Homes and Gardens real estate standards. Heather is great at making sure our marketing message is consistent across all our offices and all our agents. We have the same look and feel. It's very professional. And she does a great job with that. So when you create a marketing piece, if you do it yourself, give it to your manager or send it directly to, give it to Kylie or to Keely or to Alaya, who's doing some work up in St. Helena now. And they can pass it to Heather, to Haley or send it directly to Haley and say, please review this and let me know if you have any suggestions. And all the marketing materials, we want to have them all reviewed either by Haley or and if Haley's not available, she was recently away for 2 weeks on a honeymoon. Congratulations, Haley. And then, send it to me, send it to Randy. We just need a second set of eyeballs on all the marketing materials. Okay. Any questions along those lines? All right. I switch from marketing to our TCs. The question came up this week about an agent was taking their first listing. It's a new listing. And they asked, well, what do I do with this listing after I get it signed? So I asked Katie to respond. And Katie has a TC guide, which every agent receives a TC guide when they join the firm. And it says what the TCs will and will not do for both listings and sales. Now, if you joined the firm 3-6 months ago, however long it is, you've forgotten about this TC guide, right? I've forgotten that we had a TC guide. It's just, you get it and you move on with your business and you try to do some sales, right? But we have this TC guide, so it's right there. But anyway, and it's spelled out in the TC guide, so you can always ask for that. Hey, please send me a copy of the TC guide when you're ready to work with the TC. But she did write this to clarify the question: what does a agent do with a new listing? The agent should send the executed documents and a TIS, which is a transaction information. What's the S for? Statement?
Sheet? I don't know.
Sheet, maybe sheet.
Sheet.
A TIS, we call it. It's a form, and if you don't have the form, you just ask the TC for a copy of the TIS form. Okay. And so you fill out the TIS form. It has all kinds of good stuff on it. It has the client's name and contact info and your name and contact info and the terms of the listing, the price and the percentage of commission and blah, blah, blah. So you fill out that form, you send the executed documents along with the TIS form to the TC, who will then order the NHD report and start the disclosure process with the seller. Our TCs use Glide to send the TDS and SBQ, and either Glide or DocuSign to send everything that needs signatures. We encourage agents to pre-open an escrow with a title company, an escrow company, to see if there are any issues with the title. Okay, it's not a requirement, but it's suggested. We have a complete disclosure package. We will create a home light disclosure package, and the agent can add that link to the Bayris listing. So if you've got a whole bunch of reports you've gotten from the seller, let's say they've done a home inspection and a pest, or I got a call from one of our agents earlier this week. He's going to relist a property that he sold 3 years ago. He says, I know we still have the reports that were done when my new seller now bought the property. And the question was, does the seller, do I need to give these to parties? Because we have them. And you remember Bill Jansen's mantra, if you got it, you give it. Okay, we got information, we give it. We got a form, we give it. Could be 3 years old, could be 10 years old. It doesn't matter. You got it, you give it. I think Shannon told the lawsuit about the seller who had stored files in a storage unit. from when they purchased the property. And it turns out that there was a problem, that somewhere in the files were subpoenaed and they were bought out of the storage unit, and they contained information that was had an impact on the complaint. So the judge found that the seller was obligated to go to that storage unit prior to the transaction and disclose those forms that were hidden away. The seller's excuse was, well, they were in storage. I didn't want to go get them. Well, that didn't fly with the judge. Okay. So now our agent knows that the seller was the buyer that they represented didn't keep their files. So they were just that kind of person, right? They didn't care. They owned the house and they didn't keep the paperwork. People do that. But we have the paperwork. So he says, do I need to give that? And I said, well, the best thing to do is give it to the seller, and then the seller will disclose it as part of their package. And remember, on the top of the RLA, the listing agreement, in fact, I'll pull this up. Let's see. I have it here. This is the RLA package. It starts with the agencies, got the fair housing, wire fraud. Oh, actually, I'm not wanting the residential listing agreement. I was going to use the TDS. But at the top of the TDS, there's that section 1. It says, the following reports are made additional part of the seller's disclosure. And that's where those old reports should be listed and attached. And then there's that box 2 in the TDS at the top of the TDS that says any inspections that the buyer gets during the course of a transaction are part of the seller's disclosure. So we always want to advise the seller to check those 2 boxes. We don't want to advise them that the 3rd box, which says there's no additional disclosures. There's always going to be something. So don't use that box. Anyway, so that's what the TC does with the new listing. A little further comments from Katie here. Once in escrow, we will create a timeline and track the timeline for you, as well as send and receive all disclosures and reports from both parties to ensure we have a complete broker file. The agent is responsible for opening the escrow. Well, if you're the listing agent, actually the buyer's agent is responsible for opening escrow, but there you go. Any questions on TC and what the TC does for us? They do a lot for the amount we pay them. Okay, they keep us legal for one thing. Let's see. We covered the missed SIP. We covered, okay, this is my last topic, and then we'll get on to Heather's work today. So I got this email from an agent. I'm trying to see if I'm able to do anything to help some folks who are in the following position. The parents both died over 10 years ago with no trust. The siblings all agreed to let the sister and her family move into the house with the stipulation she would pay the mortgage, I guess. The rest of the family found out 2 days ago that the sister had no longer paid the mortgage. And the first notice of sale was March 2023, and the foreclosure stage is going to auction on let's see, filing date, going to auction on August 16th, 2023. Is there anything that can be done? Well, that's a hard one. My first question back to the agent was, do you know if there's any equity in the home? So there's no equity in the home, then it doesn't really matter. Because, the foreclosure is just going to take the property, and if there's no equity in it, then it doesn't really matter. But she wrote back and she says, yes, there's good equity in the property. And I said, well, at this point, it would seem that the only course of action that might halt the foreclosure auction would be to go to the lender and try to get to the person who's in charge, responsible for that transaction, that file. There are people in the lending institutions who run these foreclosures. Find that person and tell them the predicament, what happened, and see if they can get a stay or an extension of that foreclosure auction date, so that in the meantime, they could put the property on the market and sell it. That's kind of what, and we really wouldn't do that. We wouldn't make those calls to the lender or anything. That's really not in our job description. But we would counsel them how to do it. We might find the lender's phone number or something, to help them along the way, but we wouldn't be the ones to negotiate with the lender, on behalf of the clients. One of the clients is going to have to take the lead and have that conversation with the lender. Now, there may be that if this goes to foreclosure auction and there's actually bids on the property in excess of the mortgage amount, that those the funds in excess of the mortgage amount that are bid at the auction would come back to the owner anyway. However, if there's no bidders at the foreclosure auction, then the lender's just going to bid the amount of their note, and they aren't going to care about the equity. So that's kind of what happened with that thing. Any questions on that? All right, good fun stuff. Ha. Says Trudy said, another day in real estate. Okay, Heather, what's we got going on in the greenhouse?
Okay, great.
And I'll just mention, because we have a guest on the line today, Haley, who may not know what the greenhouse is. So why don't you just describe what the greenhouse is, take it from get-go. And before you do, I see Eric's got his hand up. But got a question, Eric?
Yes, Gary, segues to the documents in the old files.
Yes.
I sold a mobile home back in 2012. So we're looking at, 11 years or something. And we currently have it listed. The owner that I sold it to in 2012 has passed away. His children have inherited the property. What do we do about old files?
Well, we don't have files at all, so we do nothing.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. So we keep our files 5 years, I believe, maybe seven years. And that would be the extent to which we would keep our files. So we don't, as a broker, I think the legal requirement is we keep them 4 years. I think as a practice, we keep them 7 years. Someone was asking me the other day, the seller was questioning them. Well, if they sold the property, how long would they be live? Oh, and they signed an arbitration form as part of the sale. And even if they didn't sign an arbitration form, let's say it doesn't really matter. How long is their legal exposure? And there's different standards. There's a statute of limitations, they call it, that it's a period of time during which a party could bring a lawsuit after they become aware of the problem. So, I mean, if they're aware of the problem at the time of the sale, then that statute of limitations starts running. I think it's 3 years. But if they become aware of a non-disclosed item that the seller was aware of, let's say 3 years down the road, and it's a problem, then the statute of limitations starts at the time that they discover the problem. So it varies about how long they could be liable for, and it's a good, it's a good reason to encourage our sellers to disclose everything they know about the property. But just circling back to finish your question, Eric, hopefully you don't have a paper file from that period of time. We discourage our agents from keeping paper files after the close of escrow. All the correspondence, notes, emails, texts should be transferred over to the broker file, which is kept electronically by our TCs, and then we archive those files for, like I said, 7 years. Beyond that, we can't produce anything. You might be able to find. Hi, Linda. How you doing? You might be able to. Hi.
She's saying hi. Hi, it's Alia. I haven't met you in person yet. But...
Oh, hey, Alia. Nice to see you. Sorry about that. We might be able to find old MLS documents. Actually, one of our agents has a transaction now on a burn lot up in Fountain Grove. And the seller represented it as cleared lots certified by the Corps of Army Engineers and all ready to go, all ready to build on. And they bought the property, and it turns out it's not ready to build on. There's some foundation problems still, that putting a new foundation in. And then a neighbor comes over, right, and says, hey, there used to be a swimming pool in the back. Well, that was nobody ever said anything about the swimming pool in the back. And our agent pulled up the old listing data, and sure enough, there's a picture of the swimming pool in the back. So from the party that bought the property before it burned down. So Eric, you might, as you do with all listings, go back and see if there's a prior MLS printout from 10 years ago, 12 years ago. I don't know how long MLS forms are kept, but that might give you some insight as to what the property was like 12 years ago too. Okay.
Yeah, I assume there's no reason then for me to initiate a request for a search of records. We're saying that we don't have it.
That's correct. We don't have it for 2 reasons, but it doesn't really matter. We just don't have files that are over 7 years old. Okay.
Works for me.
Yeah, if you're in that range where it's 5 to 7 years since it sold last and our firm sold it, our TCs will do a search when they see the new listing come in. They'll do a search of our records and see if we have any files. So that's how that works. Okay, Heather. I think I've given you shared. So start with what is the greenhouse and go on from there.
Okay, great. We'll do. Hello, everyone. Oops, I have to click share. Let's see, nothing's happening. Share. There we go. Oh gosh, I've got 1,200 things up here. I thought I had this all closed down. Oh, that still didn't work. Let me get out of my way. Okay, here we go. Okay, so the greenhouse is our online sort of dashboard work center for everything Better Homes and Gardens that we get access to by being part of Better Homes and Gardens. It's got tons of things, tools and resources you can see over on the left, a whole marketing center, education. It's got classes you can take. It's got live and recorded trainings you can take, different agent tools, all sorts of good stuff. It also has a calendar where there's, the different classes as well as some other events that are happening. So this is a great resource, a great place to go anytime you want to know more about Better Homes and what we have available to us. Today, I'm just going to go into our marketing center and show a couple of things there. There have been a couple of updates, a couple of changes. So I just clicked on tools and resources. This is kind of my favorite place to go because it just shows you real quick a lot of the different things. And we're going to go into our BHGRE Marketing Center. So I will cover those items. All right, there we go. So in the Marketing Center, there's, you can go in and order postcards or flyers, those sort of things. Most of us, I think, typically do that in-house and have Haley or Kylie design a postcard specific, and then it gets ordered through here by them. But you could also do it yourself if you ever wanted to. And then here are under exclusive tools are some really great things that you can access. I'm not going to show how to use Pinpoint today, but for those of you, if you don't remember what Pinpoint is it's an exclusive tool that we have because we're with Better Homes and Gardens. We have access to the Meredith Corporation database. So Meredith Corporation owns Better Homes and Gardens and about 7 or even more other magazines. And they have a database of all of their subscribers, and they have demographics of those subscribers that you can actually search and find lists of particular type buyers or potential sellers in their database. So you go into Pinpoint here, and there's a whole search. You see, you can start a new search, or you can reuse an existing mailing list, and it's really great. So like you can go in and find for instance, you can search their database for people that live in a certain live in a certain neighborhood within a certain economic, their income range, and maybe have some certain characteristics. And so it's a great place to, I've used it before when I had I was selling a vacation home, something that's really great for a vacation home. You could see maybe someone from the city would be a great buyer for that. And then I'll actually pinpoint them, get a list of potential buyers in that database, and then send them postcards highlighting that property. And so it's a really great tool when you're going for listings, if you can talk to them about that, how we have this exclusive access to this database with this information. And it's a great way for us to pinpoint specific buyers that will be most likely to buy their home. The next thing here is the social tool. This has recently been updated, and it is continuing to be updated. The social tool includes articles, images and videos, properties. So when you have a listing, you can use social tool to post for that. You can do custom posts, and you can create, your whole social profile in there. I tend to use what I'm highlighting today is the articles and the images and videos. You can just come in here and you can schedule the Facebook, and what you can do is you can set up, you can schedule posts to your social media feeds using these articles and these images and different videos. Right now, Facebook and Instagram have changed the way they sync up. And so right now you can't access either of those, but stay tuned. That should be coming back soon. But you can schedule a post to go out on LinkedIn or Twitter right now. And I love to do this. So I'll come in every couple of weeks and I'll pick out several articles that I like or images, and then I'll schedule them to go out every few days. Right. So like here is an article, looking to buy your first home, 5 savvy tips to help you secure a deal. All you have to do is click on that, whichever one you want. And then it shows you, what it is. You can actually take a look at the whole article and make sure you like it. And then over here is 2 options. You can post it directly to social media, And like I said, right now you can just post it to LinkedIn and Twitter, or you can copy and share the link. So if you click on this, it just gives you a link. You go manually into Facebook, copy the link in there, and then it'll pop up. It will pop up with a photo and everything. And when people click on it, they'll be able to go over to the article. If you're going to LinkedIn, which is a really great place to post things, you can just go post to social. You're going to come up here to choose account. And then you click on which account you want it to go to. Once Facebook's available, again, it'll give you multiple, right? And you can do them all at the same time. You click continue. And then down here, you can write out a whole message. And then down here is where you actually schedule that. So I'm going to have things scheduled for the next few days. So I'm going to schedule this for August 8th at, I don't want it to go out at 12 a.m. I want it to go at 9 a.m. And then now you can see here it's post scheduled for that time. And that will automatically show up on my LinkedIn account on the 8th at 9 a.m. So that's pretty nice. Also, again, you can click the copy share, and then you just copy to clipboard here. Let's see if it allows me to do this. Post, oh, look, you can do, so you can't schedule to Facebook, but you can post directly to Facebook right now. So that's nice. I didn't know they had that back up. So that's good. You can, so if you see and you want this to go out today, I can post this right now onto Facebook. Or I should have probably typed something in, but that's okay. Or you can just copy that link to your clipboard, and then you open up whatever you want to post it to, and put it, just paste it right into the, where you write the words on in Facebook or Instagram. Now, Instagram, you typically have to go post from your phone. So what I'll often do is I email it to myself, and then I open that email up on my phone, copy and paste right there in my phone. So that's the way I kind of get around that. Let's see. Let me move this. So that's the articles. There's also images and videos. You can upload things here as well. But just remember, there's in here is already a lot. If you know a holiday's coming up, or you want, you're just looking for something to post, come in here and take a look. There's some really good things, get seeds and gardening kits for fresh food, just things to get people that already is branded and gets people noticing your social media feed. Stay productive. Plants can boost your mood. There's all sorts of great things in here, and it keeps going for quite a ways. These also, you can just click right on and then do the same thing we already talked about. Or these are images, so you can also download them. So you can insert them in other things. If you do a whole marketing piece and you want that image on there, you can utilize that image by downloading it. Okay, so up on the top here, you can see I've opened Social Tool. I'm going to just click back on Marketing Center. That's going to take me back to my main page here. And then I just want to highlight one other thing, the testimonials. So they changed, if you remember, we used to use, I can't think of what it was called. They used the, they would send out that survey automatically, and you could just click to post it. So they changed the way they're doing it, and it's a much more in-depth testimonial. And you can have these automatically linked to your website. So right here, you click on testimonials. You can see some testimonials you already have. You can see I have only 11 reviews in here. Now, I left this way so you guys could take a look at it. When you first come in here, you're going to see it says your setup is not complete. So all you have to do is click right here on Setup Guide. It's several steps, but you do need to go through these steps. It's really straightforward. You just copy to clipboard, and then you open up your website and paste it in there. But this is right there for you, the whole setup guide. So, you just click on copy to clipboard, and then you can go to the next page, and it's going to explain it for you step by step. This is really great because then every time they send out a survey and someone fills it out, it's automatically going to be put on your website. Anytime new information is put on your website, that is going to make your website come up higher when people organically search. So if someone searches for Realtor Santa Rosa and you are regularly up putting new information or changing your website, that is going to help that you come up higher in that search. So having these testimonials go on there automatically, it's one thing that you can do that's going to continue to help your outcome be, you come up higher in the searches on, somebody just searches on Google or what have you. Once you've got that done, then you can just set it up in here to automatically go over, but you have to do the setup first. The setup guide's here as well on the bottom. So you can also change your template. I like the standard BHG theme. I think it looks nice, but there is options. You can do the distinctive collection as well. Just depends on how you're branding yourself online. All right, what was the last one? Oh, and then in here is by BHG as well, and the media center. So there's a couple of other things here. The media center goes directly to those images. And the by BHG is, oh, it's going to send me over to the whole other thing. It's where you can get, your BHG swag. You can get your personalized magazine subscriptions. This is a great thing if you don't forget about this opportunity. You can see right here, if you you can send out magazine subscriptions to your past clients. It's only $13.25 for a year, and it shows up and it sits on their coffee table every month, right? And their friends and their family sees it. I've even sent it to my dentist, and he has it out on the table at his office, things like that. If you set up, I believe it's if you purchase 20 the first time, you can actually if you don't set up by 20 at first, they do a little bit more of a generic label, but it does have this personalized label. You can see it takes up almost a quarter of the front of the cover. But it's a little bit more generic. I mean, it has all your information, but you don't get to design it. If you purchase 20 to start, you can they'll personally design a label just for you, and you can have it set up any way you want. So that's kind of a nice thing. But even without that, they're very nice and noticeable as well. So let's see, I'm just going to pop back over here. All right, any questions, or is anybody using this with any success? Or
I use the social tool, Heather, and I really like it. Looks like it's quite updated since the last time.
mm-hmm.
Right. And
Yeah.
Good to know about the Facebook thing, because I was using it a lot for that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, so you can still post immediately, but for the scheduled postings, that's hopefully it'll be
soon.
coming back soon.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. All right. Well, if there's no questions or anything, then I'll hand it back to Gary.
Okay, thanks, Heather. Stop share. And is any other questions, transaction or tech questions you want to cover today? Okay, then. Thanks a bunch. Enjoy your weekend ahead. And if you're in the Sonoma area on Saturday night, we are having a disco party. 6 to 10 o'clock, I think it is. And many of you may know, or some of you may know, that the upstairs space here at the Sebastiani Theater office where we are used to be a nightclub. So we're reviving the nightclub for one night, and we're going to have a disco party. And yours truly will be the disco DJ. So come on by if you can. Should be fun.
All right, fun. And don't forget Tuesday,
Oh, yes. Thank you. Yeah. Tuesday, we're having a visit from Ginger Wilcox, who's the president of Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate. She's been at the job for less than 6 months, I think. She is a California person, lives in Santa Cruz, so that's nice. We have a West Coast person as the president of the company now. And she'll be visiting our Sonoma office for our 9:30 sales and marketing meeting. You're welcome to come in person. We'll also be broadcasting that meeting across the Zoom channel. We'll send that link out on Monday morning. So anyway, plan whether you're in person or online to tune in 9:30 to 10:30 on Tuesday morning to hear from Ginger Wilcox, our BHGRE president. Okay. Thank you for reminding me, Heather. And with that, have a great weekend, and we'll talk to y'all soon. Take care.